go with the right uppercut. You got to finish with your left hook. There you go. The neck chin in the air. Cut it with the back. Beautiful. There you go. Back to the head. Keep working. Keep working.
Pryce, do me a favor, just introduce yourself, man. Let people know who you are, where you're from, what you do.
This is Pryce Taylor. The price is right. I'm a professional boxer, 7-0. All I do is box, and I'm the best at what I do.
Pryce, are you from Brooklyn?
I'm from Brooklyn, yeah. I was born in Brooklyn. I was raised in Brooklyn till my 10th grade year in high school. I moved to Georgia. I stayed out there for 3 years. I graduated out there, and I came back to New York for college. I did 1 year of college. After college, I did 1 year of working. I was working at a carousel while I was boxing, you know, but that's when I realized I need to just box. Working is not for me because every time I get a job, it's seasonal. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, there was no point of me keep working if I could just box and try to make money. I tried to get on the USA team so I could make money, you know. But unfortunately, they didn't like my style, so I wasn't able to make it there on that platform.
Can you explain that a little more? What do you mean they didn't like your style?
It's just, that's how they explained it. They said they didn't like my style, but I don't think they considered the factors of I'm new to boxing, you know, so they didn't even give me a chance to, you know, develop any style. When I lost my 2001 Nationals against Joshua Edwards, and that was when Richard Torres turned pro. So if I would have won that, I would have been on the team. I think I would have signed. I think they signed the contract. I think that's why they didn't really, you know, look my way. And every chance they got, they kicked me out, even for something petty like you know, late night snacking or something like that. But everything happens for a reason. So I'm gonna get my get back, you know, my payback.
Now see, what you're doing now, I don't like. No. On that one shoe and you still there. Give me something. There you go. Give me something. Always got to do something.
My first impressions of Pryce were of his personality. Like, he jumped out immediately in some of those first fighter meetings as a young fighter, young in terms of his professional career. He's 28. But young as an active competitor, but with a level of confidence that seemed way beyond that amount of experience. And he kind of has that New York swagger a little bit, and it comes from a very good place. The gym that he works out in, coming up with Shushu Carrington, and seemingly on a daily basis working with Otto Wallin, it's rooted in something. It's not just bombast. And that jumped out immediately. You know, he wasn't soft-spoken by any means. He was funny, and he was very sure of going in and getting the knockout, and then he has behaved that way when he stepped in the ring. And I like to see that when I'm encountering young fighters, when it's very obvious that the personality outside the ring is matching the one inside the ring. And it's not a necessity that happens, but I think when it comes to the level of confidence that I see outside of the ring, the level of confidence you display in the ring, for me, when that matches up at an early age, that portends good things. And that, above all else, listen, young fighters they're going to be raw in a lot of different ways, but for me, that kind of attitude is something that goes above and beyond just being technically proficient, 8 to 10 fights into your pro career.
I started later. I started 2017.
Okay, so you were in your 20s.
Yeah. When I
Right.
started boxing. Yeah.
That's a whole different thing, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
How have you been able to fast track yourself?
For me, I think it was more of I'm very adaptable. Like I know how to pay attention to details. You know, I'm the person that the little things matter. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
I was always that person that knew, like, I knew when something was gonna happen, before it was happening, because I could see I'm paying attention. You know what I'm saying? So when my coach was talking to me and speaking to me, I'm not just looking at what he's telling me. I'm trying to figure out when I can apply this certain attack, you know, certain punch, certain move, and I always want to see better to know how to do better. Like, for example, for me, I watch a lot of anime, and I watched this show called ITRBoxing, and that gave me a way to look at how I should stand as a boxer. You know, certain games like Tekken. You know, Tekken got Steve Fox. I would steal some moves from him, even though it's not realistic. I can't punch somebody in the air and keep punching, but it's more of like the style. They got, because as a video game or someone that's doing anime, they gotta learn from somebody. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that was my perspective. Like, if they learning this, if they making this show, they gotta know boxing. They gotta know how to box. So that's how I took advantage of that, and I try to steal all those moves, all the information they gave in the stories. Never Back Down 2 was where Michael J. White was in it, and it was the wrestler that I wanted to fight. He had a couple different fighters. They all had different styles, and it was the wrestler that he needed to learn how to punch and strike. So he gave him a task that the paper was hanging, you know, it was hanging in the air, and Michael J. White, he punched it, and it was like a hole in it. There was a hole in the paper with no lines. It was like not ripped. It was just a big, like, straight hole. After that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm trying that. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it. So I seen. It's not I couldn't punch through it. It's more because I didn't have the tools to hang it up. You know what I'm saying? So, and for my level in my house. But the next best thing was a candle. You know, I seen what's his name? Was it Amir Khan? I think it was Amir Khan.
Fast hands.
Yeah, I think it was Amir Khan.
Amir Khan,
he punched the candles out. I don't know if it was fake or not, but I tried it, and I started getting it. I started punching the candle out, you know, just to work on my jab. You know what I'm saying? I try to steal all my techniques from anybody, you know, because even if they, you know, not at my level, they still do things that, you know, with instinct, they don't even realize they just did.
Yep.
So if I take that instinct and put it to muscle memory, you know, steal it and put it to my muscle memory, it's gonna look like, you know, well, it's not that it's just gonna look like, it's gonna feel like, for me and for the outside, they'll be like, oh wow, how you do that?
Don't lock yourself into the gym.
Okay, yes, sir.
Basically, we're doing 260 or 1 inch. Yeah, I'm actually pretty happy to see a big man like that do what he just did. With his crooked foot. Let's go. Keep giving us shoulders, Pryce. Give us shoulders. Give us shoulders. There you go. Remember, as a heavyweight that don't have the general size of the other guys, you got to be a little bit more fluid.
How did you come to boxing as a grown man?
Yeah.
How did you find that?
For me,
And also, was it in your life before that in any capacity?
not at all. It was not in my life. I didn't think about it, but I didn't even give it a second thought. But I do remember when I was younger, my dad had these boxing gloves. It was only one pair, so me and my brother, we shared one. We would, you know, punch each other. We was in elementary school at the time, so we just played around, you know, as kids though. But other than that, everything was basketball. I was a basketball player. My dad, he didn't want me to play no other sport, no other contact sport but basketball.
What position?
I was a shooting guard, but I had to play the big man because I was bigger than everybody.
Right.
I wasn't able to dribble the ball up. I didn't know how to dribble it anyways, you know. So, but it like it's basically like, you know, your mother is trying to protect you. You know, even though she's trying to protect you, she's hindering you from learning. You know, I couldn't learn how to dribble if I don't dribble the ball up anytime soon, because everybody's smaller than me and everybody's basically a point guard, but not knowing that I'm actually a point guard on my team with smaller guys, and if I was to go to the league, I'd be a point guard. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I was in a bad situation, but a good situation. It was like, it was good family, you know, but it wasn't for me. So that's why now, as a boxer, I know that I gotta speak my mind, and I gotta make sure I'm doing what's best for me, and put myself in situations where I can succeed and be a better boxer. How I got into boxing was I was working at this job. It was a paid internship to teach us how to make resumes, use computers, and how to get a job. And basically, one of my employers, he was telling everybody he boxes. He's always shadow boxing. So I'm just like, yo, where do you box? I asked him where he boxed at, and he told me Cops and Kids. And I said, how much is it for to box there? He's like, it's free. Once he told me that, I was there the next day, ASAP. Then I told my parents. I told my parents that my mom. She was cool with it, but she didn't know how. She didn't know I would get into it. You know what I'm saying? I was doing it just to hit the bag at first. And after that, we just started going back and forth with each other. Me and my coworker, we started going back and forth with each other, talking about, like, you know, who's better, you know, man things, you know. And it got to a point where one day we just decided to spar each other, and I started hitting him with some anime moves, and that got me tired. You know, you just watching it, you don't realize it's tiring like that. But that was the first round, and then after that, I was like, hell no. From the sparring, that's when I knew I wanted to fight. You know what I'm saying?
That's what gave you the itch.
Yeah, that gave me that itch.
You got a little taste, and
yeah,
that was just enough.
Because that's when I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come here every day. And then my sister, by accident, you know, she ended up running into her friend that she hasn't seen in mad long, and turns out he boxed, and he introduced me to his coach. So then I started going to him and training at Gleason's. I was paying $200 a month. Crazy.
That's a pretty payment.
Hell yeah. So I did that for 2 months. I did 2 months, maybe 3, because I was getting help. You know, I was working at the time, so I didn't really care. I just wanted to box. So it got to a point where I was just like, nah, fuck this shit. I can't be. Why would I pay when I can go to somewhere free?
Was there a specific moment for you where you felt like this is not a hobby? Like, and even though I'm sure there was people telling you it's a little late, or there was, you know, people who had a hard time seeing that vision because you're already an adult. But did you have that moment where it's like, I'm not here just like having a good time?
I think I think I had 3 moments like that. You know what I'm saying? Right before COVID, that's when I was like, oh yeah, I'm about to take this all the way. COVID hit. Stopped everybody. Right? And then that's when I was just like, damn, I need a job. You know what I'm saying? But I couldn't work because nobody was hiring. Right? I had a job. I literally had a job. I just got back to working, but it was working at a gym. I was working at a Sweatbox. COVID hit. You know, when everybody was able to go back to work, I called him back to see if I can get back in there. He said, nah, he didn't got no, there's no, you know, it wasn't, they were just getting back into it, so they was still working, they was trying to get money, you know. Right after, that's when I was like, that's when I became like 250. I was 240 before COVID, I was 240. I turned 250 eating Domino's every day because we inside, you know, we ordering Domino's. And then after that, you know, after COVID was finished, I had to get back in shape. I got back into shape. I did the nationals. And then that's when I was just like, nah, I don't want to work. Fuck working. I'm gonna do this for real. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get on the team. I ended up going to move into Atlanta with Bulletproof Brandon Glenn, and we was training over there. I was training, helping him train and fight. You know, getting ready for fights and all that. The only problem with me, it was more like because I didn't have a car, so I would have to rely on him to, you know, take me place everywhere, and that started getting annoying for both of us. I think, you know, we got into an argument. You know, that's when I had to come back to New York. So basically, that's when I was in Atlanta. That's when I went to 2021 Nationals, and I lost to Joshua Edwards, and I went to camp out there to Colorado. My first time going to Colorado. I tried again, Nationals. I lost to Ali Felice. I think I was nervous that fight. I wasn't nervous of him. I was nervous just I wanted to get back on the team. So I wanted to make a shot. I wanted to show off, you know? That trying to show off, I wasted my energy.
So you went from 2017, you're doing an internship for something completely different. 3-4 years later, you're in with like basically the best heavyweights in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Did you, in the moment, are you understanding like this isn't normal, or you're just in it?
I was just in it. Yeah, I was.
Because you know that's not normal.
No, I mean shit. I was doing what I was, you know, wanted to do. I guess I was just doing because I knew. It was a point where I was like, I had a backup plan for if I didn't make it to basketball anyways, I'll play football.
Right.
You know, so I feel like sports is my calling. Any sport, it don't matter what sport it is. As long as I put 100% into it, that's my calling. I'm not a person that be behind the desk or like I'm not saying like it's a bad thing. It's just not me. I can't do it. I want to be good at that job.
Right.
So it's like, and I feel like everybody else knew it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I wasn't getting hired, or maybe I don't know, whatever the reason was. But it wasn't for me. God had a plan for me. There was one moment where the Team Combat League popped up. You know, right after I fought Ali Felice. Right. I was gonna do one more nationals because I knew I was gonna win it. I knew I was gonna get on that team. I was gonna do international tournaments to get on that Olympic team. Team Combat League popped up. They said that amateurs and pros can do it, right? So my coach was the head coach of it. We signed up. I signed the contract. Once I signed the contract, they saying I gotta be pro. I turned pro once I signed the contract. So I'm like, wait, you just told me I could be amateur. He said, nah, you pro now. I was like, wow, what the fuck? I was trying to do the nationals again. I was trying to get on the USA Olympic team, you know.
Does the TCO, do you feel like that supplements maybe some of the amateur career that you missed out on?
Yeah, hell yeah. I wish I was still amateur. Well, not now. I'm pro now, so I don't care. But
you would have liked to have gotten a little more of that experience on that side.
Yeah, 100%, because I wanted to go to the Olympics so bad. I feel like it would have been I wanted to put my stamp out there. You know what I'm saying? My stamp really isn't out there because I haven't won a finals ever. Nationals, I mean. I never won a national finals.
Right. It's easier for high-level amateurs to become high-profile professionals because the promoters are already watching them. The hardcore fans are already watching them. Kind of, it's like college basketball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's easier for somebody that wins the NCAA, you know, to get into the league than the best street baller on West 4th.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean?
Exactly. So, that's exactly, you put it right.
What's next in your career?
Next in my career is, you know, getting those big fights, making sure beating up the people I'm supposed to be beating up.
That attitude, that willingness to just go for a knockout early and not bother playing with your food, not just buying into what the conventions of what this fight ought to look like. And perhaps it is because of that background that's a little bit different, and his reference points are a little bit different. There's nothing in his mind right now that's telling him, oh, it ought to be good for me to go 8 rounds against this guy. He sees someone who is overmatched against him, and he says, okay, well, I'm just going to go blow them out. And that is also helping him build that kind of buzz this early in his career as well.
What in your mind makes New York fighters different? Because I know we have a unique kind of breed, but how would you describe what that is to somebody who's not from New York?
No, yeah, I like that one. New York, anywhere in New York, if you think about it, right? New York doesn't really have a lot of professionals in the like NFL, NBA, because we don't really have stamina. We have style. We have that finesse, and the finesse don't come with stamina. Finesse come with, you know, smooth, like I'm too cool for school type thing. Like we just so cool. We don't really think about how long we gotta look cool.
So you think a lot of New York fighters, they have the swag, they have the skill, but they're not
conditioned.
They're not built up in the same way.
Nah, yeah, we don't got that.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's access. I think we don't really, you know, we're in the city. You know what I'm saying? So we don't really have mountains like that. We're not trying to run in front of people like that. You know, as a young age, that's not cool. You know. But I feel like everywhere else, you got open land. You can run miles, and no one's in sight. You know what I'm saying? You can run up mountains. You won't see a person for like 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? So everybody, right. They got their own space over there. You know what I'm saying? Over here, we're always on top of each other. That's why people don't say hi. We're not that friendly, because we always seeing you. We always see somebody. Somebody's gonna be seen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because now we getting back into that. We gotta work hard and grind. You know what I'm saying? So the best athletes are nerds. They're nerds for real. Like you gotta be good at school to get to that level. And without your schoolwork, you're not gonna be able to play basketball anyways. So you gotta have the highest grades, or the highest grades you can manage, or you know what I'm saying, you got pay attention to school. You can't skip class. You can't hang out with the friends that's not trying to go where you trying to go. You know. But in New York, it's different, because you know we walking everywhere. We gonna hang out with our friends. We see our friends going outside, and we're not really worried about school until we fail. You know, now we gotta go to summer school. Now you know how important it is, even though you still don't really care, because no one's there to tell you why it's so important, or someone to be on your back, be on your behind, and yo, do your work. You did your work today? Nah, I ain't. Do your work right now. Do your work before Sunday come, because now you can have fun on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Do your work on Saturday. Do your work on Friday. As soon as you get it, do your work. I didn't have that. I had it, but I didn't really have it, because they thought, you know, as a parent, you know, you still working on. You're not really, you know, paying attention, because you still got your own work to do. Mm-hmm. So I always had this thought, like, my parents, they birthed a golden egg, you know, but they didn't know how to treat that golden egg. They treated that golden egg like it was a white egg, because they didn't know. Right. They don't know what to do. They still human.
Where you from?
June 6th. Yeah, that's Hall of Fame weekend. London?
No.
6th?
Where?
Oh, London. Upstate New York. Yeah.
Somalia?
No, it's downstate.
Oh, that's
Upstate New York, in New York.
Oh.
Upstate, yeah. But I don't know. I've never been there.
So, Pryce, it's been a couple of months since we last talked, and when we met at Cops and Kids at the end of April, whenever exactly that was, you had a fight coming up June 6th. That fight has since happened, and you got a fourth round stoppage. So, first of all, congratulations. But can
Yes,
you
sir.
talk about that fight a little bit and break down that win for us?
Yeah, nah, that guy was very resilient, and I was I was upset a little bit, but I was level headed enough to understand that he's a tough guy. So I had to box him a little bit, and see what he really wanted to throw, so I can see the openings and open him up with the body shots and slow him down a little bit so he doesn't charge in like he was before.
It was the first time that he was really getting touched by a fighter who was motivated and that had the potential to genuinely hurt him. And Ed had obviously been coming off some spouts of inactivity. That said, Ed Fountain was really motivated in that fight, and he was a guy who was there to win. He was not there to lay down in the opening round or anything like that. That if you just saw that on BoxRec, you might have felt, okay, this is clever matchmaking for what it will look like on paper. It turned out to be a genuine little test for Pryce Taylor. And I think it's one that was maybe even a little bit beyond what he would have to do at that point in his career. He could have probably faced another handful of guys that were in and around the level that he had faced before, and nobody would have blamed him for it. I thought that Ed Fountain was a nice little step up. He had to get through I wouldn't say scary moments necessarily, but some genuine 50-50 exchanges where you were like, "Whoa, is Fountain maybe getting the best of these exchanges?" Had to work through that and win the fight. So I think that was an excellent step up for him, and an excellent test, and it, again probably illustrates the fact that he can take the type of step up that he's taking this time out against Robert Sims.
Once I seen that he was, easy for a nice right hand or right hooks, and I wobbled him a couple times, that's when I knew the fourth round, I knew I had to get him out of there. So I just started charging up every punch after that. And right now they sent me to Florida so I could train with Sugar Hill.
So you're living in New York still, but you're doing camp in Florida.
Yeah, yeah, as we speak.
That's incredible. So that's Sugar Hill Stewart right behind you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the first day, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. We learning, I'm learning new things, and we're not just going through the next lesson. We're learning on one thing, focusing on one thing till I get it right. And I like that. I like when I get to focus on something and keep my mind, you know, on something to get better at. I like making things muscle memory. I don't want it to be instinct.
Sugar Hill, baby, baby. Out here with Pryce Taylor, working out, getting it in, preparing for July 26th, Detroit Little Caesars Arena, going back home, get some knockouts. Bang.
So you're making a real quick turnaround. I go on your box rec. You already got a fight lined up for July. Tell me about this fight. When exactly is it? What's up with the opponent? Pitch the
Yeah,
fight.
copy. It's a Claressa Shields card, July 26th. I'm on the main card, 8 rounders on TV. If anybody can't come, it's going to be a televised. So don't worry. You're still going to be able to see me knock this guy out. It's going to be against Robert Sims, 8 rounder. And it's supposed to be, on paper, it's a step up fight.
I think the one that he has coming up right now against Robert Sims is a really good and really tough matchup for him at this point. I think that Sims is a guy who is really tricky, kind of an old school pro with a lot of veteran tactics that he's the type of guy who could totally unravel someone who is young and raw. Uh, like him. And maybe if he doesn't, then that is a huge feather in his cap. If he can get through Robert Sims, I think that's a tremendous accomplishment for him at this level in his career. I think that the level of opposition that he could be in against right now is not that far off from the level of opposition that his stablemate Brandon Moore can be in with right now. So Robert Sims is a guy that Brandon Moore beat about a year and a half ago, and he went the distance with Robert Sims. If you look at what he's been doing in the TCL, well, Pryce has won rounds against Skylar Lacey. And granted, TCL fights are 1 round apiece, but he's shown that in a small sample size, he can hang with the same types of guys that Brandon Moore has been in with recently.
Are you still doing the TCL, or are you just staying as active as you can?
I'm actually fighting Sunday.
You're having a TCL fight on Sunday, and you got another fight next month.
Yeah.
It's a lot of activity, bro.
I'm with it. I'm ready. Let's get it.